won't believe what he discovered. He then became a whistleblower. He testified in front of the United States Senate under threat of perjury. And what he saw was astonishing. And so he was flabbergasted when people are sitting there saying there's no such thing as weather modification. What he worked on at the South Pole Station makes the HARP project up in Alaska look like a baby project. The machines that are at the South Pole Station that are able to control earthquakes and the weather, and not only that, is a giant UFO control tower, which is a neutrino control tower. So I had a chance to speak with Eric, but we specifically talked about the weather modification tools. And so here, I wanted to play a little bit of this interview for you with Eric Hecker. Now let's talk about the weather piece of this. So we're seeing the weather manipulation. We've covered this extensively here on the show. The NextRad radar systems that have been used to direct and move these storms in a path of destruction. The control of these storms is unbelievable. And I think most Americans were kind of silent or didn't realize that this was actually happening. I think the cat is out of the bag on all of this now. But I'm curious what the South Pole Station does and when you work there, how it actually is able to be used as an earthquake generating machine, what else it's doing there, and maybe how this is tied to the current weather events and all of the things that we're seeing right now across the United States. Can you give our audience more of an overview of that?
Absolutely. The South Pole Station has a system known as the Ice Cube Neutrino Detector. It is currently the world's largest phased array transmitter. This is basically Tesla technology. I'm sure a lot of the audience is familiar with systems like HARP, which is effectively built on the surface of the Earth, and it has a 2D situation. It has length and width as far as a phased array goes. The South Pole Station differs in this so far as it also goes down deep into the ice, giving it a third dimension, length, width, and height. So it has exponential more, I guess you would say, capabilities, targeting discharge of power. And yeah, it's like HARP on steroids, basically. So yes, it generated the earthquakes that occurred in Christchurch, New Zealand in February of 2011.
And you told me before, I'll let you go on in a second, but when you and I chatted on the phone a few weeks ago, you mentioned, I don't know if you can say this now or if I'm speaking telling tales out of school here, but you were speaking to a source that you worked with at the South Pole Station. Since you left there, said the technology's gotten so advanced now with these generation of earthquakes that it's like an autopilot system in an aircraft. I think you described it, that it's so advanced now, it would blow your mind at how targeted these earthquakes are, that they can use from this South Pole Station.
Basically, the trick of it all, one of the things that I learned when I went to this event in Alamos, Colorado, I spoke with a gentleman by the name of Dr. Simeon Hine, and he was doing a presentation on ball lightning. And one of the things that he discussed was how there are reports when earthquakes occur that ball lightning, I guess you would say, is ejected, manufactured by the earthquake. So I engaged him in a dialogue, and I said, well, Doc, wouldn't there be some sort of symmetry there that if an earthquake can discharge ball lightning, wouldn't we be able to deliver ball lightning to generate an earthquake? And he agreed that it's just simply a matter of being able to deliver said energy, which
just like Joe Biden threatened Turkey. Turkey had an earthquake.
Explosive capacity to it. So if you can wirelessly transmit energy from a
the volcano erupting underground,
somewhere on Earth, deliver it to another location,
North Carolina,
the end result is quite
Hawaii,
simply an earthquake.
all earthquakes in California.
Wireless transmission of energy is something that Nikola Tesla has brought up, 100 some odd years ago.
Nikola Tesla made this.
So this is the state of the union, is that Nikola Tesla discovered this stuff. The powers that be absconded his information. They cordoned it off away from the mass population.
All these electric towers Tesla built, they're being used.
These types of technologies for many decades now. We the people are suffering under this monopoly of technology by our oppressors. It's literally just that simple. And that would be the motive for them to have agents, for lack of a better term, flooding the disclosure community with BS to muddy the waters and confuse us,
Louisiana,
the people, so that we continue to be wholly oppressed. And well, well managed.